shine, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
So we started with the power of a name. We're going to talk about persistence, and at the end we're going to merge those things back together again. Today, the four gospel readings that we have, each one of them talk about persistence in a variety of ways. And so we're going to be able to kind of walk through all four of those. But we are going to begin with Jacob. Jacob and persistence. You know, sometimes we get the idea that all the people in the Bible are holy and complete and perfect people, which is absolutely not the truth. And that's probably really good news to us, because it's a reminder that God uses the likes of us. But persistence, that night, caught between the rock and the hard spot, wrestling and wrestling. Actually, it's a fabulous metaphor for the wrestling we do throughout life. Wrestling with decisions, wrestling with relationships, wrestling with jobs, wrestling with health issues. He wrestles and he wrestles. And in the end, he does not get what he deserves. He is blessed and he is sent. Also, today we have the story of the widow. And the widow who goes to the unjust judge, pestering and pestering and pestering until he finally gives her what she asks for. Now, the inclination might be to say, well, the judge, is that the God figure? And it is not. The unjust judge did not fear God, did not respect people, did not care, wasn't concerned about justice. He is the opposite. He is up against God. So the conversation is, if the unjust judge eventually will come around to justice, how much more so will our God, who loves us and is paying attention and cares and is all about justice, how much more so will our God listen and hear and respond to our prayers? So, as thinking about today wrestling, thinking today about persistence, thinking today about how do we keep putting one foot in front of the other, I had to go back 2 years to walking the Camino de Santiago. It was 896 kilometers. I walked it in 36 days, and it was probably my greatest test in perseverance, in persistence, in continuing on, even when I really didn't have it in me to continue on. When you start a crazy adventure like this, I, like everyone else, had the vision that we were all going to go all the way to Santiago. We were going to walk all the way. We were going to walk the extra 3 days to go out to the end of the earth at Finisterre. It was a wonderful vision. It was a beautiful vision. And then once you start walking, the vision morphs. It morphs with blisters and sore muscles and tendinitis. So it wasn't very many days in until people were starting to get pretty hobbled up. And a couple more days in, people are starting to drop out because it was painful. And eventually the day came that I realized I wasn't necessarily going to make it all the way to the end. That I couldn't guarantee my body and my legs and my blisters were going to be willing to do that. So each day, it was a prayer to put my foot into the boot. And those first couple of kilometers were always prayers. And when I got to the end of a day, I thanked God for how many kilometers I'd gotten that day, not knowing if I would even be able to walk the next day. But what I learned on those 500 plus miles of monotony, that it was simply my job to keep putting one foot in front of the other, because I know how to do that. And I couldn't, you can look at some of these pictures and you can see the path for miles in the distance. And the thing I couldn't do is project out into that far vision. All I could do was be right where I was, that step at that moment. And what happened over those 36 days as I took one step at a time is God was forever faithful. Each night, I really did find a bed to sleep in. And I always found food and water. And every need I had was met along the way. In my persistence, God was faithful over and over and over again. It's true always, but there was so little between me and nature and me and failing that along the Camino, it was so incredibly clear, crystal clear, that God was the one who was faithfully carrying me from day to day and kilometer to kilometer. It's really what the psalmist has to say today. My help comes from the Lord. The Lord will not let your foot be moved, nor will the one who watches over you fall asleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade. The Lord will preserve you. The Lord will watch over your going out and your coming in from this time forth forevermore. We are called to persistence. We are called to wrestle and to take step after step and to get up out of bed in the morning even when we don't think we can. We are called to persistence, but it is God who is faithfully there each and every step of the way. The final question from the gospel today is this. Jesus asks, and yet, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on earth? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, because just as Jacob wrestled with the angel and was blessed and sent with a new mission, in our baptism, we have been blessed with a new name, and we have been made heirs with Christ of all the promises. So as we wrestle through life, and as we take step after step after step, the blessings of God are poured out upon us. Blessings of courage, and of hope, and of mercy, and grace, and faithfulness. Will the Son of Man find faith on earth? Yes, because he poured it out. Amen.
Well, this light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. And every day, every day, every day, every day, every day, I let my little light shine. Oh, Jesus gave me light, I'm gonna let it shine.